Hey guys, welcome to the Art of Comics. It's me, Andres. I'm here um, in the little artist corner here where all the magic happens. And today I thought it'd be kind of fun. It's about almost 11 o'clock. I just got into coconut water, so I hope this isn't too bougie. But it's a little bougie. It's coconut water. Getting into it. I thought, I do a lot of these videos about inking live. So I live record myself drawing, inking, coloring, things like that. But I thought, let's do it a little differently today. And why don't I just post up this video like a normal video recorded? So it's not live, so it won't have the interaction. But maybe some of you who don't get a chance to see those live videos will see this. Those of you who are interested more about the process of comics. So we're not going to necessarily do a review of a book. We're going to talk about inking in general and how to do it. Now, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done it a little bit, and I'm going to share with you what I know. So take this for what it is. Now, and what we're going to do is I have a big stack here of pages that I just inked over the last couple weeks, and then we're actually going to dive into some new pages. I did a video this earlier today, and so I did some pages here that we'll go ahead and ink, and we'll just kind of like go through a little bit of the process. But the first rule really in inking is there is no rule. I'm going to share with you kind of the common tools, things like that, but really there's no rule. You do what you got to do to put the mark down. You want clarity, you want to communicate information, and simplify things, okay? That's really it. That's it. It doesn't matter if you use sticks and blood or mud or whatever kind of things you want to use. Go for it, okay? You don't have to get the fancy stuff. Sometimes people feel a little bit more comfortable if you spend a lot of money. You don't have to, okay? But I get it. So that all said, you do need good tools sometimes. So just to make things easier. So I'm going to share with you this story that I've been working on, which is called, Shangri-La Estates, although we might change the title. And it is the 1984, it's the aftermath of a divorce for a young family living in the trailer park world of Arkansas and Little Rock. And so it has got the 80s vibe, southern trailer park world, poor white trash type thing going. It is divorce. It's my version of Boyhood, right? If you've seen that Richard Linklater film, or Blankets, or something that's that coming of age story of a boy and his mama, trying to survive in the wilderness without their father, right? So that's the premise, and so that's what this story is about. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about kind of the basic inking tools that almost everybody uses or has used. Okay, we'll start with, and also I'll mention this is traditional. So you could also go on your iPad or use my Cintiq here that this is all on top of, right? And you could digitally do it, right? You can get, Clip Art Studio. You could get Photoshop, Procreate, a bunch of tools, and you can just ink that way, okay? You could also not ink at all. You could also just lay down pencils and color over the pencils, or lay down pencils and then digitally amplify them a bit and change the levels and gains so that, and if they're tight, you could almost make them look like inks. But for this video, and we can go into those in another version, but for this video, we're talking traditional, we're talking paper, blah, 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 right? So standard comic book size paper, usually we're using 11 by 17, live area is 10 by 15. If you use manga, use a little bit smaller page. So these are the manga, these are deleter pages, you can use these. I bought a stack of these because they're a little cheaper and I want to just kind of play with them. And the verdict is, I like these. I don't know if it really cuts that much time out of the drawing process because they're a little smaller. I thought maybe it would cut a little time. I do like them. I wish they were thicker. They're a little too thin. I do like the thickness and the tooth of the bigger Bristol pages. So if these were just a little thicker, I would be sold on these. Okay, so that's the paper. Let's talk about different tools. And you can see that in this page, for instance, I'm using a couple different tools here. and we'll break that down. The first thing we should talk about is what we make our marks with. So a lot of people nowadays use markers, or rather tech pens. So tech pens are usually the microns. Here I have these Faber-Castells that I'm using, microns, and I actually have a video. If you hunt through, I'm not going to put the little thing, just if you hunt through them, I even talk about how you can refill those. You just pop these caps off and you can refill it. So a lot of people like to use the pens, and sometimes they work well when you're doing things that are like inorganic, backgrounds, buildings, coffee mugs, stuff like that, right? Also for style choice, big, bold, things like that. So these are little pens, and there's like you can get like a chisel nib, a fine, an extra fine, a big fat one, all that kind of stuff. So pens, and I do use some pens, right? I do use a couple outlines here on his thigh and his jeans. I'll use a pen. Now, and next to the pen is the even fancier rapidograph, and this is a rotring rapidograph. Rapidographs they're cartridges, although I do have a hack on how you can refill these. These are a drafting tool for architecture use. These have a very dead line. It's perfectly even, the same. It never varies. It is a perfect straight line, not straight, but perfect width line. These are fun too. Again, stylized choice for things. Inorganics primarily. I like these a lot. The ink on these are great because for these you're going to use like a rapidograph ink, which is a very dark black. So I like that a lot. So I like rapidographs. You can also go and use something like this Pentel stylo. Now the Pentel stylo is a tech pen, but it's got a bit of a flex nib to it. Once we get on this, I'll show you this on the pages, but this gives you a little bit of that more line variation. You can flick a little bit more. It's got a little bit of a bend. So this has a bend to it. Not as much as, say, a fountain pen, which you could use. You could go fountain pen, like old school fountain pen style. People really don't use these for inking comics. You could use a fountain pen, but I don't think it'll work so good. If you want that look, though, you then go to probably the second most popular tool, maybe the most popular tool, at least back in the day. Now I think the most popular tool is tech pens, honestly, because it's easy and people are lazy and they just do it that way. But if you want to be cool, you use G pens, you use crow quills, okay? And these are like Hunt 102s. There's different sizes and widths for these pens, the speedballs, and the numbers would dictate how firm, how hard it is, and how wide or thin those are, okay? And this is a G pen. This is a very classic kind of common one that they use in Japan for manga. This is a company called Deleter creates this as well as makes the paper, and I love the G pens. So this is like my go-to guy I use when I'm using G pens. What's nice about the crow quill pens, and these are, you do have flex, you can do the line variation, but you also can do really fine lines. So you can do a lot of feathering, a lot of shadows, things like that, as well as some big thick lines. So you got some line variation. With those though, you're gonna need a dipping pen. You're gonna need a source of ink, okay? And so I like to use Dr. P.H. Martin's Black Star. It is super black, but you can also use the crappy Higgins, Black Magic. You can use Pelican. There's a bunch of inks out there. I personally vote for this. Again, I'm not sponsored by them, but if you are a rep for them, let me know. Because I could use a discount. Because these do run at, what are these? These are about $11 for, what is this? One ounce. So this will last me a while. This will last me half a year. So that's not bad, actually. That's nothing. I shouldn't think about that. And then, if you're really cool, you're going to use a brush. Old school brush. Even today, people use them. And the flagship, the one to get, is the Windsor Newton Series 7. Windsor Newton Series 7 Sable brush. Sable is an animal, like a weasel, and that's where these little bristles come from. They have a wonderful spring. They last a long time. My Series 7 2 here, I've had for over 20 years. Yeah, dude. There's a trick to these, though. You wash them. I wash them with soap. I condition them with a little bit of oil. I take care of these mofos, okay? They're like my teeth. I brush my teeth every day, and I wash these damn things. So I keep them because they're expensive. You know, this is $20. This one's like $30, right, for a brush. But if you take care of them, last for a long time. Now, if you don't want to go Windsor Newton because you're like, hey man, I'm on a budget. I'm making freaking comic books. I ain't doing that. That's fine. There's other Sables that are. Here's Da Vinci, the Da Vinci Maestro. This is actually a pretty good brush. There's also, you can just say, screw it, I'm going to get some cheap ones. Not a big deal, okay? I use these little Japanese brushes sometimes too, especially for big areas. And these have a really kind of fun point to them. So when I want to do something that's a little bit more gestural, I'll kind of go into this route. If I want to do something very crisp and clean, I'll do that. And so I'll show you, I'll flip the camera over and I'll show you like what I'm talking about with some of those lines. Those are like the main tools. Now you also have stuff like effects, right? So we've got, you can use toothbrush, you can have these different Conte pencils and things like that for shading and graphite and all that jazz. And then when we're talking inking, we can also go white, right? So you can use these Uniball whites. You can use this like a whiteout pen, and my favorite, of course, is you got to use the Pro White, which is basically kind of a white thick acrylic that you can just brush on. So you got all those kind of like goodies for effects and things like that, and I'll show you that right now. But that's the tools. Let me show you a couple of the lines, and then we'll just do a couple drawing. Okay, let's do it. Check it out. Okay, everybody. Hopefully, this is kind of fun for you. And I have a new lavalier mic that I just put on, so hopefully it will sound okay and it won't be too loud. So let's just go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So this is actually a good example of a lot of different tools I'm using, and you don't have to use, of course, a bunch of different tools on your artwork. I can name many artists that just do brush only. Craig Thompson, for instance, in blankets, or just use tech pens, or just use some other kind of thing. So you don't have to, but I do feel like variation of line and style do create more interest. And so here's an example of a page or even a panel where I'm using a lot of different things. For example, the outlines here of him, I am doing all with I think it's with this puppy, this Pentel stylo. And then I use a little bit of G pen here for the hair on the arm. This shadow here is brush. This over here is brush. These are brush, right? This is crow quill. So this is the G nib here. And I'm using the toothbrush for this little like spray for the grass and stuff like that. This is brush right here. If I go here, this is all brush. But then here I go to crow quill. So this is, and this here is not this one. This is this little guy, because this little guy can do super thin lines. Now, the problem with doing little lines like this is you do have to think about it when it is reproduced in its final form at a smaller scale. When this thing gets shrunken down, you will have an issue of this either not reading at all or kind of jamming up together. And so you do have to think about that. I think it's okay right here, but you definitely, shrunk it. You have to think about everything gets shrunken down, what that does to it. So yeah, so we got brush, we got thing, and I got a little stipple, then I use a little white out here. So there's a couple here where you can just kind of see different. And then I'm using the tech pens for the borders. So all these have like clean borders. Here you can really see that white out. I'm kind of spraying. And here, really what it is, it's just dabbing some of that Pro White paint on my toothbrush and just kind of spraying that up, giving it a little water look. This is brush, of course. You can tell this is brush. This is brush, crow quill a little bit around his body. These guys, a little bit of both, using some of the Pentel Stylo on him, as well as a little bit of the brush for the clothing. So this is brush. A lot of times you can just tell because of the thickness of the lines. That's really the big indicator. And you know, if you like brushes too, there is even these guys, which are kind of a fake brush. They're pretty popular though. These Pentel, what are they called? Just Pentel brushes or something. Let me just show you what these guys do. They're actually kind of cool. So they kind of just make a nice little line. And you can do some nice lines here. I mean, if I were to do this and I did my other brushes, you wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, you know? You wouldn't be able to tell necessarily. So it's a pretty nice little guy. Why don't I like it as much? Well, I feel like the tip isn't that great, and I feel like it's a kind of a pain to do the cartridges. So I'd rather just get a dip. Which, oh, I didn't mention, one of the things I do, we talked about using this for the crow quills, but I actually use, for brushes, I use Rapidograph ink. And it's strictly because of Jean-Paul Leon, one of my favorite artists who's done a lot of work for Marvel and DC as well as independent stuff. He does that. I talked to him at a con one time, and he said that he uses Rapidograph for his brushes. And he said, really, it's just because it's so frickin' black. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do that. And so that's where one of your heroes tells you something, you just do it. So that's that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's just do this, right? Screw it. Okay, let's do it. And I've been thinking a little bit about how I'm going to tackle this. And I think what I've decided is, and you know what? Now that I look at this, I did not need, I'm going to move this a little bit. I did not need to do the pencil here. That was not really needed at all, but I did. So it is what it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and use the I'm gonna use a stylo again and kind of build some of this out and just do the outlines, and then I could always go back and use a brush over it to kind of give it a little bit more line variation if I need to. So I think that's what we're gonna do. And I think what I'm gonna do too is I'm gonna erase some of this because I feel like I kind of made an error in judgment when I did that. Because it's not really, I just moved that table, okay? Yeah. It's not really, it does help a little bit on finding the line, but I'm just gonna erase some of it. And it's better to erase it before I ink because this will pick up the ink in the Pentel. That's the problem with the Pentel. Rapidographs, you can erase the freak out of them and they are never gonna go away, okay? But you talk about these little like tech pens and stuff, you erase and you're gonna lose some of your ink. So I'm gonna take some of this away now because I don't really think it added anything, and it's gonna get erased anyway. So I'm just gonna give it a little once over with this little kneaded eraser here, and okay. Now this is fun watching me erase. Okay. Okay, let's just get started here. Okay, we'll start with this. I like to start with something I feel very confident in. You know, the great thing about digital, guys, is if it sucks, which sometimes it will, I will change it. So I'm just kind of doing outlines here right now. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Yeah. Maybe I'll actually zoom in a little bit farther. Let's get in on this, right? It's like, get in on this. It's a little better. Plus you don't see my big head sometimes show up. Okay, and so I'm just really doing something that's not, I'm not putting a lot of shadow and stuff like that quite yet. We'll probably will go into that, but right now I'm just kind of like setting a couple little things here then. And again, I can always go back and you can use some other tools. I don't know if you can tell, there is a little bit of flex though that I can kind of put on this, which I do kind of like. He's got kind of a wild curly hair with the classic mullet style. Okay, we'll probably put some more stuff there, but right now we're just doing mostly kind of the outline. And this is 1984, so it was, and in Arkansas, it's all about t-shirts, at least for kids in the trailer park, it would be. Just putting a few things here. I do need to figure out the t-shirt styles. I forgot about that. It was something I was gonna do and I didn't do that yet. I wanted to have every t-shirt have like some sort of a kind of common thing. I need a ruler, so I'll do this here. Okay. And I could put a little bit more, maybe I will put a little bit more of this. Oh, sorry about that. Just bumped my rig here. Okay. Now I could put a little bit of shading. I might use that little Contig. These are kind of nice little guys. They have a nice little texture to them. I'll just do a little like example. So they have like a nice little like, texture. So you could, if you did a little vase or a little cup or something, you could put in a little bit of shadow on there or something, or a little cast shadow down here on the ground. So I might do something like that on his face even. I'm not sure. Another great thing about digital, right? You can kind of play with that, and digitally you can like decide to do it differently. It's really nice. Okay. I'll do a little bit. So I could actually use a little bit of that rapidograph right now just to show you how that feels. I really like these things, dude. These are really fun. These little rapidographs. And you can get, of course, these in different widths and stuff. This is a 0.35. So the scene, I should have mentioned this earlier, the scene is Andy, the main protagonist of the comic, is with these other boys at the trailer park, and it's right after his birthday. He gets a copy of the Dungeons and Dragons game, and so he's gonna show them D&D for the first time. It's kind of fun. So that's what's going on with that. Okay. Next to JJ here, this little kid. Let me see this guy here. There we go. You're getting there. Getting bougie with the coconut water, baby. Well, it's not really bougie if you get it at the 99-cent store. That's my response to that. Okay. I'm just gonna kind of like move around. I like to move around a lot with my inking and stuff. I just do. And there's a couple little hands and things I need to actually work out a bit more that are not worked out as well as I'd like. So I'll just go to where I know is like there's no questions as far as what I'm gonna do. A lot of times, you know, when you ink stuff, you have it fully penciled out, you know. You would get your pencils from a penciler, and then the inker would go over them. You know, you have the advantage, of course, when you're doing both. You just do it whenever you want. So because of that, I don't always fully pencil it out. As you can tell, I'm inking straight on this blue lines, which some of it's pretty decently put on. Some of it's pretty not abstract, but loose. So that is something you can think of. But yeah, so basically you could start, I'm going to say, finishing or inking whenever you want, whatever stage of the story or the art is. I find that I can maybe stay a little looser if I just go for it. But sometimes there is like questions where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I need to define these things a little bit better, right? Which is kind of important. Because then it's not fun necessarily for me to like start solving problems when I'm inking. I mean, the problems I want to solve is the inking problems, not the rendering and draftsmanship problems, which sometimes happens. I want all those done in the pencil stage. And somehow this character has a big long neck in this one. That's okay. Okay. It's basically just kind of low. It's like almost midnight. It's almost midnight, and I was watching a Fellini film, and I was like, I really enjoyed it. I started a second Fellini because I got that Criterion box set, but I was like, you know what? I'm kind of sick. I'm kind of tired of reading Italian. So I thought, and I really was wanting to do some drawing, even though I did some already today. And I said, screw it, let's just do this now. So here we are. And the question is, when will you be seeing it? That's always my question. Is like, when do I release these suckers? Do I just do it now, or do I do it later? Okay. I don't know what that is. It's a couple things. I was like, I don't know what the hell that is. Let's do this one. This is another face of same guys over there. Let's see if we can. Kind of like this idea, but. Okay. That's a little sweatband. Okay, let me think about this. Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll do this here and then we'll call it a day. So this is, oh, I still have a lot to do here, don't get me wrong, but I actually want to do this face too. But let me do a little crow quill. I'm going to do a little bit of that here on this and show you how that works. So one of the things I do is this, to me, I like to keep this nice and clean. So I'm just gonna like, I get a little bit of like extra ink and stuff that was on this. Just gonna clean this up just a little bit here. I'm just cleaning this up a little bit. And the reason why I'm cleaning it up is because so I get this nice fine point. It's like sharpening a pencil, basically. I'm just kind of like, I want to make sure my point is nice and sharp and I don't have this old crusty ink all over it. And the reason why I'm doing this one like that is because it's a little bit more expression here on this. And I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do this with a little bit more expression. Sorry, there's a little bit of a shadow right there. It's because of the camera. Okay, I think I know what I'm gonna do. So for me, when I want that quote unquote scratchy look with some excitement, energy, I use this. When I want it to look a little cleaner and more deliberate, I use Tech Pen. And so for example, you know, this guy does, I mean, you can do some nice little lines here when the thing is flowing, right? That is. And you can, you know, you can really do a lot of thickness and stuff like that. So why don't we go ahead and do that face so you can see how it looks. And if you like this video, I would really appreciate you guys giving me some comments because I want to know if this is something it's good and helpful or not. Because what I'm going to do is that's going to help decide if I just keep doing these on live, or if I should every now and then put these on the normal kind of like channel because then that would kind of help determine the path. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Let's put this back. It's dry now, kind of. And let's do the face. Here we go. We got this loaded up. No, not yet. Just gonna put a little bit of this. It's okay if I do this. Yeah. Okay, you guys see pretty good? Okay. Again, this is, for me, I'm using this little scratch here, a little more energy. Camera makes it a little difficult because it's in my face. So I have to kind of like move it a little bit. So hopefully, okay. But you could do some nice little like lines like that, which is kind of cool. All right, you notice I just dab my thumb in there, just like F it, you know. And it's just about getting different styles and different kind of like textures and stuff like that. So okay, that's kind of fun. And now I go a little loose here and just kind of like, I really like things to just look gestural. So that's what this is all about. Okay, that's why I like things like Sienkiewicz and stuff like that, which I actually kind of like that. That's nice. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Done. Right? That actually was kind of fun. That turned out nice. So then I can even go back here now, right? And I can say, okay, well, I'm now going to do some of these things, you know, and really kind of like get some of these lines in here that I want and give it that look. So it doesn't have to, you know, I could give it that energy, you know, after I've done this kind of like more cleaner outline. Okay, or I can drop some shadows in here or whatever. So, you know, I might say like, yeah, I really want these hands to be done with a lot more line variation. So I'm gonna just like do these right now, right? It's kind of like, right? So I just kind of like, so I could even just go, you know, just do whatever you want. Might even do a little more here. I get kind of start getting the zone here. I'm just gonna do him real quick, and we'll call it. Okay, let's do something like that. Probably play with this a little bit more. Okay, that's it for today. Just a little look on different things. Oh, I didn't use a brush. Oh well, we'll do this again, and I'll show you the brush and some tricks on how to use that. So I want to thank you guys for watching and checking out the channel and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we got a lot more coming in for you. Let me know what you guys think. Have a good one, guys. Bye.